And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Sports Frenzy. Phil Penarski here, once again, joined by our News 8 sports correspondents, Dean Holsworth and Andy McDonald. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for stopping by. Got another exciting week of Michigan sports to get to, not above all else. We got to start off by talking about the Detroit Pistons, who are now currently on a 13-game winning streak. We talked last week about them being on an 11-game winning streak. The wins have just kept coming. They defeated the Bucks and Pacers in the past week since we last talked about this winning streak. It is now currently tied for the longest streak in franchise history. And fun fact for everybody, the last time the Pistons won 13 games was the 2003-2004 season when they won the title. And the only other time they'd done it before that was the 89-90 season, which they also won a title on. Given the fact that history seems to be a little bit on our sides, guys, I mean, I don't want to jinx anything, but it is pretty good company to know that this team is kind of where those teams were, those championship winning teams.
Yeah, definitely. Phil, you're not supposed to. It's like a no-hitter, Phil. You don't talk about it.
Hey, I'm knocking on wood right now. I promise.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. I'm sure nobody else has said that today
Right.
or brought it
No,
up. So.
no.
Yeah, it's all my fault, right?
Right. No, everything's going in the right direction for the Pistons. You know, obviously they're winning at home, they're winning on the road. I think the return of Jaden Ivey has been huge. He's getting some minutes, and he's actually had a couple of really good games. So once he starts getting more minutes, and who knows? Like I said, I think last week that we're just so deep. We have so many guys that can go out there and can contribute. Cade's back healthy, so. I think sky's the limit for this team. It really, really is. They're doing it on both ends of the floor and just playing with a ton of confidence right now. So
yeah, for sure. No, Jaden Ivey has been huge to get back. That's a piece that some people even talked about. There's been so many different players looped into trades that the Pistons could do or whatever to get themselves better. But that's, I guess, the thing that's so nice about being so deep is that if you do have to make one of those decisions to get better and they feel it's the right move, they have a lot of options to do so. But I think right now, when you're winning this many games in a row, you probably don't want to switch anything up with the mojo that you have going in the right direction. At the same time, you don't ever want to get too encapsulated by that. If you feel like you could get better, then you probably would want to make a move. But I don't really know anybody that's going to come to this team right now. There are people to come to this team to make them better, but it just seems like they all play so well together under JB Bickerstaff. It's just been really, really fun to watch the defense they play. You have to get players, kind of like the Lions when they always talk about their guys, right? Like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell talk about they want to only have their guys come there and play. Sometimes you want to be careful with that because you don't want to do it too much, but at the same time, I feel like it's hard to find a group of guys that play the way the Pistons play on the floor in today's NBA. So I think it's special what they have right now, and hopefully they can just keep it rolling in this direction because 13 in a row, nobody thought that. No way. Right. No matter how bad we thought the East might have been, nobody thought 13 in a row. That's crazy.
An interesting thing. So 2 years ago, yesterday, I think, they had lost 13 games in a row.
Yeah.
And now,
crazy how that just happened.
The exact same date they lost at Indiana, too. It was the same team.
Nuts.
Oh, I don't like that. That's too weird for me.
Yeah, no, that's a lot going on.
The number 13.
Was it the year they lost 27, 29, whatever?
That was the year. 2 years ago.
Okay,
so that was the year.
And every time we say it, the more I think about it, just where this team was, even last year, yes, they made strides over that course from 2 years ago to last year, but even last year, I still did not expect this team to be where they're at right now. Clearly the top team in the East on this 13-game winning streak, and like you guys said, it's a buy-in from everybody on that bench. You're getting contributions from everybody. Everybody's already ready to go, and then you bring in a Jaden Ivey. Again, I feel like there are players that you could maybe think about bringing in. I know we talked about in the offseason the idea of Devin Booker coming back to Michigan and maybe joining the Pistons, but at this point in time, I don't know if you mess up with what you've got going on right now. We'll obviously get closer and closer to the trade deadline. Maybe the team looks a little bit different, but right now, I wouldn't want to get rid of any of these guys. Even guys like the bottom of the bench. Dennis Jenkins has had some incredible games. Paul Reed is one of my favorite players in the NBA. Just watching him play game in and game out, and it's just incredible what they're doing in Detroit.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that's the whole thing with why people, when Jaden Ivey was on the floor, I think that's why I kept hearing his name kind of circulate in trade rumors, is because they had Dennis Jenkins playing so well, and they're like, well, if we can get rid of this guy that has maybe a higher name or something, and Dennis can keep playing that way, then maybe you would make the move. But Lauri Markkanen's one of the names I've heard floated around a bunch. It just sounds like they want so much for him. It's a insane amount of draft picks, and it was Tobias and Jaden and a few.
They want Thompson. They really want Thompson.
Exactly.
I saw that.
That's so many people to give up just for one guy. I don't really know if it's. And what has Lauri Markkanen won since he's been there? You have to have those players that have won stuff too. A lot of the time to make that big of a trade. trade. I just don't know right now if that's the move. I think the one guy that I've kind of like been eyeing a little bit is Sabonis because he's hurt right now.
Right.
So I feel like the Pistons can maybe get him for a little bit cheaper just because of that. Like when the trade deadline does, officially get here, it'll be closer to the end of his injury, and he might be able to come back. They might be able to get him for a little bit cheaper just because of that. But again, it's just so hard to like want to mess this up right now. So this is definitely going to be for Trajan Langdon. This is a tough trade deadline because you're like, we don't want to ruin anything, but if I have this great opportunity to get another star here to play with Cade, it's a tough choice to make. That's for sure. I'm glad I'm not in this chair.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the big again, 13 games that they've won in a row that ties the franchise record. Next opportunity to break that record comes at Boston. They're going to be taking on the Celtics. They've beaten the Celtics already. Actually, I don't know if they've played. I'm going to cut that out. They have. Okay. All right. All right. 3, 2, 1. Well, again, the Pistons are on a 13-game winning streak, tied for the franchise record. But in order to break it, they're going to have to go on the road to do so. They're going to be traveling to Boston and take on the Celtics, a team that they've already beaten this year. Guys, do you think they get to 14? Is this the team to get to 14 and possibly even longer on this winning streak?
I don't know. I mean, playing in Boston is obviously tough.
Yeah.
Boston's not the Boston they have been without Tatum. So I'm not sure. I'm looking at their schedule now. Then after that, they have the Magic, they have the Heat, they have the Hawks, they have the Bucks again, they have Trailblazers. So I don't know. This might be the game, and sometimes as a coach, sometimes a loss is a good thing, right? But no loss is bad. But I'm saying maybe to just kind of get remotivated or just I don't know what the case may be, but I don't think a loss would be so bad right now. But the way they're playing, it just might not happen.
Yeah, no, that's where you find out a lot about like the rollover effect. Just because when they do eventually get this loss, are they going to let them pile up after that? Because it is one of those things where you're riding so high that sometimes all it takes is if you lose one, if you lose a couple more after that, things could start to go downhill. But I don't really see that happening with this group or this coaching staff. It just doesn't seem very likely to me.
Yeah, would be very funny if they ended up just winning out the rest of the regular season.
Sure.
Or
Not gonna happen
tomorrow, and then I'm going to say you jinxed them. You'll get a text,
Don't blame me.
Phil's
Don't
gonna
do
get a
that.
text if
I
they
remember
lose.
like Golden State had that crazy record, right? Like, years back. That would be like the one I guess you could shoot for, but I don't see that happening either.
So their record 2 years ago, guys, they won 14 games the whole entire year.
It's literally crazy
and
to think
they've
about.
won more games already than they did 2 years ago.
No, this
Just on the
turnaround.
streak.
So that's speaking of something,
As
right?
much credit as like the Lions deserve for their turnaround and everything they've done. This has to finish for the Pistons. Like we are only in the second year of this. Things could explode and go the complete wrong way. I mean, we have no idea, right? But at the end of the day, if they can finish this off, make the playoffs and go deeper again, like that's almost more impressive of a turnaround than like what the Lions did because of how fast it happened and how bad they were. Like they were horrible. Not the Lions weren't. They were horrible too. Right. But it's just interesting to think about like all these teams have turned around at the same time. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you have this young core of guys, right, that you're going to have around for hopefully 5-7 years.
Right.
So, the window's not small for this Detroit Pistons team. You added some veteran guys, and I think you can kind of continue to do that, but your core right now is a bunch of young guys.
Yeah,
and talented guys.
It's a good time to be a Detroit sports fan, I
Yes.
think. All these teams kind of making that turn. But let's stay in Detroit now and move on to Ford Field, where the Lions took on the New York Giants this past weekend. Guys, at the beginning of the episode last week, I said there is no way that the Giants beat the Lions. There's no way that the Lions could possibly lose. And I got to tell you, the entire day on Sunday, I was sweating. I thought I was going to have to come in here and
You almost had to walk to work, didn't you? Didn't you make a bet where you'd walk to work if they lost?
I did not make that bet. I
Okay,
would never
all
make
right,
that bet. But I was a little worried about it. Thankfully, the Lions were able to win it in overtime, but they did not. They should not have needed overtime to beat the Giants. The Giants team, led by Jameis Winston, who had passing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns in that game. They didn't have a lot of their star players, Malik Neighbors, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo. I mean, they didn't have those guys, and yet still kept it pretty close with Detroit. Bad signs. I know we said that if they were able to win, we probably wouldn't move on the panic meter. I got to say, I have moved on the panic meter, at least for me. I don't know about you guys after that game.
No, it's completely understandable. I mean, that's like not the kind of game. Like there are moral wins, or right? Like, or you can say that this is like a moral or this is a moral win. It feels like almost like there are moral losses. This feels like a moral win almost. Like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like you guys got the job done and finished it. And if they didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs, where would they be right now? Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh! But it's just like. Yeah, it's one of those things where they came out there and just didn't look good again. It was a lot of the same problems, and you keep hearing the same thing after the game. We got a lot of things to clean up. I'm getting sick of hearing that. Like at some point, you got to actually clean the things up if it's going to ever be possible for this group to get better. It's a win's a win, and it's a tough league to win in. I think the one thing that we should be careful with the Giants, as much as we kind of were just like, oh, the Lions will roll them. I think we just got to accustom the Lions doing that when they, came out the next week after losing. They would just kind of do that to whatever team they played. Go back and look at how the Giants play against the Packers. Tough game. When they played against the Bears, who are in first place right now, it was a tough game. The Bears had to pull out the end. So it's not just the Lions that had a hard time. This team, they were frustrated. I mean, I don't know if you saw the end of the game. There's that video of a couple of their players like throwing their helmets like at the end zone and stuff because they were just like. I think they were so frustrated with the coaching staff for not kicking the field goal when they were down there at the end of the game to make it a 6-point game. Because like these players want to win these games. They don't care about, like what happens to the draft pick or whatever. They're like, why are we making this decision right now? Like I can kind of see it. You're 2-9, just go for the win, whatever. But the Lions got lucky with that, and they also got lucky that Bates made that field goal. So yeah, it's just it was a lot of things that had to go right. It is good to get a win like that at the end of the day, but. Overall, there's no way I think you could watch that and think that there isn't like some concern. Like there definitely is concern. The Lions are about to go into a very, very tough part of their schedule with the teams, the records they have right now. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely a little more concern than I had before.
Yeah, it was a little odd for me to watch the Lions at 10 o'clock in the morning in California. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit different. But no, kind of same thing. And I really thought that the Giants could cause some havoc with their pass rush. I kind of talked about that a little bit with their defensive line. So yeah, I mean, super worried, obviously, throughout that game. I think at one point it was, they were down 10. And I think, Andy, that's where the Giants' frustration goes, where they've lost 5 games this year where they've led by 10 or more in the fourth quarter,
exactly.
right?
They've been in every
so that's
game.
where that frustration comes from. And the Giants are a team, like, they have nothing to lose, right? So they're going to throw out the trick plays like they did, and they're going to do whatever they can to win the game.
Right.
So yeah, I think in every team, maybe with a losing record the Lions have coming up are going to be like that, So the Lions have to be at the top of their game. Offensive line struggled once again, didn't play great. Obviously, the big plays by Gibbs, without Gibbs, where would we be, number one? We talked about Sam Laporta, not being around now the rest of the year, which is a huge loss for me. So, Phil, I am a little concerned. The Lions are out of the playoff picture right now, right? All these, NFC teams are actually playing well, and we just don't know. But this game coming up on Thanksgiving is actually huge.
Yeah, they win this game. I think everybody settles down a little bit. But at the end of the day, for the defense, I want to give Calvin Shepard's group a little bit of a break just because both those trick plays look like the Lions had it blown up, and then somehow they winged it how many yards downfield and they threw it to somebody. So I don't know. I still think there's a lot of ways that game couldn't have been as close. And, I'm the guy that's been panicking for too many weeks, right? But like I don't think that's like the end of the world. If the Lions come out and get smoked at home by Green Bay, that's it. I don't think this team's doing anything. They probably won't make the playoffs if that happens. So this is a huge game.
It's a cliche. Game. Good teams find ways to win, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
No matter how ugly it is sometimes, at the end of the day, it's a W.
This is the culture that Dan Campbell created and Brad Holmes and everything. Like this group wants to win. They refuse to lose. But it's just there's a lot of mistakes we're not used to seeing, like offensive line being bad, like you mentioned. Amon-Ra St. Brown, that needs to be talked about at some point.
His drop passes.
The drops are bad right now, and maybe it's just hand. I've heard some rumors about a hand injury, but it's like definitely probably in his head a little bit for the first time since he's been in the NFL. So it's just a lot of things they got to get over. And if they can just get one of these big wins against a good team like that, I feel like it'll make a huge difference. So we'll see what they do on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And
again, what a slate on Thanksgiving, by the way.
Right.
In the NFL, all 3 games.
Great slate. And Joe Burrow's coming back.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting day. Obviously, with all the flair of Thanksgiving, you've got all the food going on. It's great to have some really good football games, especially ones that we're going to be paying close attention to.
Yeah, I can't wait to. It's one day, you get to be with your family. I know Dean will be at the game.
Be there.
Yeah,
but I get to be there.
For me, I'll be with my family, and it's like, gosh, I got to watch this game. You know what I mean? Like, can't get away from it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. Do want to just talk a little bit more about this Giants game, though, before we jump into the Packers game, because, again, what we saw from Jahmyr Gibbs was otherworldly. I mean, he had over 200 yards on the ground. He had another 11 catches on top of him running the ball. He had those big he had 3 touchdowns total.
200 some all-purpose yards? I forget what it was. High 200s.
Over 250, I believe.
Yeah.
So, again, just seeing how he's been able to play this season and really just come up clutch. It does beg the question, though, and this is something that I was kind of thinking about, wanted to get your guys' opinion on. I mean, are the Lions maybe a little bit too reliant on Jahmyr Gibbs right now? We talked about Sonic and Knuckles, him and David Montgomery. I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs is getting almost all of the plays right now, all of the reps. And that's not a bad thing, but again, are they becoming too reliant on this one guy to carry them and kind of save their season and save them out of these games that they put themselves into?
Yeah, I don't think so. He's so dynamic and so electric, and he's so fast, obviously, right? And so, I think they want to put him in, positions frequently to be able to have big plays, right? And that obviously that worked against the Giants and it has worked against other teams this year. So, I don't think so. I think most teams have one good back, and you're going to kind of, that's their workhorse, and they're going to kind of ride them a little bit. And if you have to do that right now with the way Gibbs has been playing last 2-3 games, and obviously Montgomery's not going to get as many carries, like I don't think it's such a bad thing. The one thing is, overuse maybe a little bit, but Gibbs is still young, and obviously he's who he is, but maybe he gets a little fatigued at the end of the year, but I don't know. The way you look at it is you do have to mix in Montgomery maybe a little more at times, but I think you have to ride Gibbs as much as you can because he's just that dynamic.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wasn't alive when Barry Sanders was running the football. I mean, maybe I was, but I wasn't. I don't remember those days. Yeah. I have to imagine based off what he did in this game, that had to feel like one of those games where he just won the game. I mean, literally, it felt like nobody else mattered on the field besides him and their offense. If he wasn't there, the score would have been a blowout. So I don't think they're doing anything wrong by using him that much, because when you have that talent, he might be the most dangerous player in the NFL with some of the things that he does. Yes. I can't disagree with using him that much. It is weird, the whole Dave Montgomery thing kind of just getting less carries, but I think he probably sees it and realizes it too. It just is what it is. I don't know how old Dave Montgomery is, but he's been around long enough now that I'm sure he's okay with the role that he's in still, as long as this team is winning games. Yep. But yeah, at the end of the day, it does feel like they are too reliant on him, just because they shouldn't have to be that reliant on him. It feels like when this offense is at its best, they were using the play action and working a lot with that too. They haven't really been able to do that as much and do it as well, just because they've had such a tough time blocking up front and moving the ball. So again, I guess just some of these things that they didn't do in the offseason are coming back to hurt them a little bit when it comes to that with the offensive line up front, and not addressing it at the trade deadline either. Those are definitely things that I think kind of keep showing up every single week. But yeah, right now this team is what it is. It's not going to, I don't think there's any major ways you're going to make this offensive line better. Obviously get a little more healthy, but I think we've kind of seen how good it can be. You got to use Jahmyr Gibbs as much as you're able to. That's for sure. So.
Well, again, it's going to be a very big game for the Lions, not just because it's Thanksgiving and Jack White's going to be in the building, but because it is. He's a halftime show.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great time. Yeah. And so, obviously, big game against the Packers. They want to avenge that week 1 loss and then, again, kind of maybe jump them and get back into first place in the NFC North. They're going to have to beat the Packers in order to do that. Can kind of agree this is probably a must-win game for them, but how are they able to do that and really, again, kind of inch back into playoff contention? Because that's the issue with the Lions right now, is that even when they win, so does every other team ahead of them in the NFC right now. So even if they're maybe not able to win the division, even the wild card teams are still winning in there. So that's making it a little bit difficult. How are they able to put it all together, get rid of what's going on the past couple of weeks, and just play great Detroit Lions football and beat the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving?
I think the motivation for the Lions is obviously that week 1 loss, right? They didn't play the way they wanted to. So I think they're going to go out and, hopefully they're going to have a complete game, right? We've just seen just so inconsistency from Goff and, like Andy, you said, St. Brown, and just the defense at times. But, Packers haven't looked great. Okay, they're okay against a not very good Minnesota team last week. But, Packers have not been playing great. I don't think Jordan Love's having, the season that think people thought they would. Micah Parsons obviously has been better as far as sacks and getting that rush. But I just think that for the Lions they just have to be more consistent, right? And you can't get down by 10 points, especially against a good team like the Packers. If they do that on Thanksgiving, I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago, they actually fell on their face against the Packers. Then it's going to be a tough day, and it's going to be a tough watch. And I do not want to go into a locker room with losing Lions.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, the Giants have beat them, or not Giants. Cleveland's beat them. Carolina's beat them. They are a beatable team. There's nothing about this team that screams like a Super Bowl winner to me either. So far with how they played this year, they look very inconsistent as well. So this is one of those games where when you're at home and you already lost the first one, we talk about having being able to sniff out winning, finding a way to win. This is the week that you have to do that. I mean, everything's in front of you. You've already had a couple of chances to get some big wins, against the Eagles and Chiefs, and they played in the road and in a prime time spot. Listen, another chance to everybody watching to get a win and kind of, right the ship and make people believe again that whether they care about that or not, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But it feels like even for them, for their confidence, to get everything kind of going in the right direction, the momentum again, if they lose this game, it's going to be a big deal. That's for sure. So I think this could be a season difference right here. So yeah they got to win this one, no doubt.
Again, one of the biggest games of the year, of course, happening on Thanksgiving. We're very excited about it. It's going to be a great game on Thursday. Dean, you'll actually be out at Ford Field covering that game. So, again, looking forward to that one. Let's switch over to the other big game this week, and that is coming on Saturday as the Michigan Wolverines will play host to the Ohio State Buckeyes in the game. Again, another huge matchup. Michigan, of course, winning the last 4 against Ohio State. This year, Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country, have not lost, barely giving up a touchdown a game. That defense is
insane.
Otherworldly again.
Nasty.
It's like prime Georgia when they were that good. It's wild.
It's insane, honestly. I mean, just week in and week out. I think I had it somewhere. They have not given up more than 16 points in any game this season. And again, still undefeated, going into a big matchup. They are wanting revenge. Michigan, though, coming off a 45-20 win over Maryland. Bryce Underwood, probably his best game of the year as far as what he's been able to put together in the passing game. So I got to ask, going into Ohio State, take Ohio State out of it, but just focus on coming out of that Maryland game. Do we feel a little bit more confident in this team? Just seeing them kind of put it together. Obviously, not going to have Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall still up in the air as far as if he'll be back. But without a running game, I mean, as far as this team goes, are you a little bit more confident after seeing what you saw on Saturday?
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks kind of give you more confidence overall. I know that the Northwestern game didn't look as pretty on paper because of the 5 turnovers. They made mistakes. But if you look at the total yards in that game, they did move the ball a lot. In the last 2 weeks that Andrew Marsh has had, it's just been phenomenal. That guy's really starting to come on as a good receiver for them. McCulley had a couple of big catches last week. So you're starting to finally see, some of that chemistry between quarterback and receiver that I don't think that they've really had for a lot of the season. And it's kind of been like, who are the playmakers, for him to be able to get the ball to, for Bryce to get it to, and they just haven't really had that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely the right time for them to be playing better. I think the difference is if you turn the ball over 5 times against Ohio State, it's not even going to be close. If they play more the way they did against Maryland, it's going to be a much better game. So, there's no way that Michigan doesn't have a chance this game, and anybody that thinks that they don't is crazy, especially with what's happened in the last 4 years. And right now, all that we know is that it seems like it's in Ohio State's head. So if they give Michigan an inch, I think they will take it a mile in this game. Yeah. It's obviously a huge task. They also want to get that monkey off their back, and they want to play a lot better. We'll see what happens, but I definitely think Michigan has a chance, and they've found the right time of the year to start playing this good. So it's all in front of them too. I mean, they win, they even have a shot at the Big Ten title game still, and I think they will definitely make the playoffs if they win this game. I don't know how they couldn't, so we'll see what happens. But Michigan knows what's in front of them. They got a chance to do it. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, the win gives you a lot of confidence going into the Ohio State game. I was telling Phil earlier, I think the weather's going to impact this game more for Michigan, right? It's supposed to be snow. It's supposed to be cold. A couple years ago, Michigan beat them in the kind of the same conditions, and I don't think Ohio State likes that. But no, they are in their head, and like you said, if it's a close game at the end, Ohio State's going to start thinking about these past losses and how big this game is and how undefeated we are and how we want to get to this and this. Big thing for me, guys, is Bryce Underwood. His first game in the rivalry game, the big game, and how is he going to kind of respond, right? Is he going to be like, hey, I don't know any better. I'm young. This is my first time in this game. Or is he going to get rattled? Is he just going to, kind of succumb to the pressure of Ohio State's defense? So I think that's going to be key. Another key, I think, is just keeping Ohio State on the field, right? Like they have to have some consistent drives and keep that, dynamic offense, on the sidelines.
Yeah, definitely. And, obviously, everybody talks about Ryan Day, the head coach of Ohio State, only being 1-4, losing the last 4 games. I think what you guys said is perfect. If Michigan can just keep it close in the fourth quarter, all those memories, I mean, they have won the mental game. If they can at least keep it close going into that fourth quarter and give themselves a chance. And that kind of leads into the other element to this is that the season does not end. If whatever happens in this game, the season is not over for the Wolverines. But if they are able to win, do you think that they deserve a playoff spot? I think that would be probably the biggest win out of anybody, most impressive win on anybody's resume that year, beating Ohio State. Should they, maybe they're ranked a little bit lower. Should they maybe catapult some teams that maybe have the same record into the playoff?
If you beat the defending champs, number 1 ranked, with all the hoopla around Ohio State this year, if you beat them, I know you're at home, but yes, you should make the playoff, right? You should catapult right up to that top 12 or inside that top 12 because, you just beat one of the best teams in the country. And, you did it with a rookie quarterback per se, and obviously one of your top running backs out. So no, I think if the Michigan gets this done, then they deserve to be in the playoff.
There's no question about it. I mean, we just said the team that's been giving up 7 points a game. Like, if they can find a way to put up points in that offense and do anything to get this win, obviously Michigan's defense is going to have to perform well to keep them in this game. I think that's obvious. And also the health of Jordan Marshall is a big deal too. Kuzdal, the guy from West Michigan, he did play well last week, but I think in this kind of game where you just talked about it, yes, Bryce is important because I think he needs to use his legs in this game, but Jordan Marshall is the kind of guy that's like ground and pound. If it's snowing and the weather's bad, that's going to be huge too. This is the kind of game where if Michigan can prove that and they can go beat Ohio State. If you can beat Ohio State, you can beat anybody in the country with the record that they have and the teams they played. I mean, Utah still is ranked ahead of them, and Michigan's strength of schedule is a lot better than theirs. So there's already a case they should be one spot higher, and then they're only a couple spots out. If they beat Ohio State, I don't see how they keep them out of it. Plus, it's the brand of Michigan. Like, as much as we want to act like these things don't matter, it does matter. Like, if Michigan wins this game, it gives them every reason to put them in there, and they know their fans are going to travel and fill out any stadium they play in or wherever it'll probably be on the road for that first game. I think that's how that works. But nevertheless, they're a huge brand. They would want them in the playoff. It's not like they don't. So I would bet those people are actually probably rooting for Michigan this weekend. Right. But we'll see what happens. But they beat Ohio State, no doubt. Can't keep them out of it.
All right. Well, let's call our shots now, guys. Going into Saturday, 12 o'clock.
Gosh.
Michigan is going to play host to Ohio State, the number one team in the country, only giving up about just over 7 points a game. Who wins this game? Is Michigan able to overcome all of the obstacles against them and pull off another win and win 5 straight versus the Buckeyes?
So here's the thing. Last year, I like everybody else, I thought Michigan was going to get rolled. That had to be the year they finally lost. And they didn't. So maybe I should go against what I think again, because I have this feeling that Michigan's going to win this game. But it just seems like Ohio State's also got to get that off their back at some point and get this win, because they clearly are the team that's had more talent. I mean, maybe they don't have more talent right now, but they definitely are more seasoned talent, and their defense is much better than what Michigan has right now. So I'm gonna roll with Ohio State on this one, but I do think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a close, heartbreaking game for Michigan in this one. But at the end of the day, even if they do lose this game, they finish 9-3. I don't think people should be upset with how the season ends if they keep this game close. But it is one that could go either way. Ohio State's got to get it done at some point. They have to. I don't want to see it happen necessarily. Just got to happen at some point. So I'll take them.
You got to be. I love your brutal honesty, right? Being a Michigan fan, like I love that you're not that homer pick. Yeah. But I think the conditions are going to be a factor.
It does. It matters.
And I think Michigan's going to win a close one. I think it's going to be 17-13.
Yeah.
Low scoring game. Two good teams going at it, in a game that everybody watches. And I do think that Michigan's going to pull this out, and they're going to be in the college playoff.
They have a freshman quarterback, too. Like, they have somebody who's going to come in this game and not know how to play. If they linger in this game and let Michigan stay close, it's Michigan all the way. For some reason, I just feel like some of the mistakes we saw in the Northwestern game that happened all season are more likely to happen against this team, like, early. So I really think the start to this game is just, like, massive for Michigan. They can't start slow.
And I think being at home, I think Sharon Moore talked about on his talk show yesterday I was listening to, they don't have to deal with all the rapid Ohio State fans and obviously how boisterous it is, and it's just going to be the home crowd, right? You're a Michigan crowd. You're in the comforts of the big house. So I think that's going to factor in. That and the weather, I think, are going to be two keys to this game.
Absolutely. I think the big question now remains, say Ohio State does win, do they plant the flag in Michigan's field? Is there going to be another kerfuffle at the end? Hopefully not. But,
they shouldn't be, just because of the fact of everything that, the huge deal
you're not pulling off an upset.
Yeah, I'm sure those players would. I don't know. But, with all the crying they did about it last year,
oh, my gosh.
We're stoking the fire right now.
I think if you were anybody watching that, it wasn't just Michigan fans. Anybody around the country was like, you guys just lost to that team. Why are you crying about them doing that?
One of the worst,
it's a rivalry.
Michigan teams, but yes, that was such.
That was a terrible Michigan team.
Davis Warren. They lost to Davis Warren last year.
That was the worst quarterback play I've seen since Rich Rod's first year.
Yeah. They won the
really
national championship, which tells you how good they were.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, interesting. Well, again, we're going to be very excited. It's an awesome weekend of football and sports in general. We're so looking forward to a big game on Thursday, Turkey Day, of course, and then, of course, the Ohio State-Michigan game on Saturday. Very much looking forward to that. We'll be breaking down everything that happened this upcoming weekend on next week's episode of Sports Frenzy. But until then, we hope everybody has a very fun and safe Thanksgiving. And we want to thank you so much for tuning in to this latest edition of Sports Frenzy.